Welcome to the invisible wall. Do that. Alrighty, so if you want to come on in, this is the train for the invisible wall. In here, the students will be lined up, sitting on the chairs, supposed to look like a subway station, a subway train. And there will be an intro given by someone from the Berlin team, just talking about an overview of the path. This one specifically is talking about the decline of Christianity in Berlin, in Europe. And so one of the Berlin students will just talk about what they experienced at school and that what kind of a living life as a Christian in Berlin looks like. So a little bit of a brief overview. We've got some nice art on the walls. And then if you want to follow me in. All right, so over here, this is the name of our subway station. And then coming down here, you'll see the Berlin skyline for the students to just take a look at. Over here, there's a big sign here, Be Berlin. That's just a sign really talking about, this is a slogan that kind of says, that is prevalent around the city, really talking about authenticity. And so as a team, we thought it would be a great slogan to use to talk about how are you authentic in your faith. One of the main things I forgot to mention the team member is going to highlight is that there was a Berlin Wall that was up 25 years ago, and that's down now, but there's still a wall between man and God. And so that's the invisible wall. That it's not necessarily a visual thing, but that wall is there. And so that's kind of the play on the words that we have. Coming down here, you're going to see just different pictures of Berlin with a lot of statistics about poverty and the decline of Christianity in the city specifically, but in Europe in general. So those will be just available for students to take a look at. Over here, this is supposed to represent a grand traditional church. They're pretty much on every corner in Berlin. And so there will be a facilitator, someone from Berlin, just talking about the history of Christianity. So Martin Luther, nailed his 95 Theses on the door in Germany. And so Christianity is very, very prevalent. But the inside's supposed to represent that it's dead. There's sawdust in there. No one's in the church. The buildings are still standing, but it's lifeless. And so that's what this is supposed to represent. And again, there will be a facilitator kind of talking through that with the students. Coming over here, this is what we call our truth section. So it's really just supposed to represent words, visually different things that people cling to for truth. So we have, words like karma, God's obviously an option. We have a marijuana leaf. We have just different things that, what do people turn to? What do people cling to instead of God? What are their truths in their lives? Over here, there's a Buddha as well. So what is truth? So we've asked the students, okay, so there's a decline in Christianity because different people believe different things. Well, what is truth? What is that? So then that's going to take the students into a section that really defines truth as the gospel. There's 5 different sections: creation, separation, promise, rescue, and restoration. And those are pretty self-explanatory, really, again, taking the students through the gospel. This is something that they will be encountering in the main gatherings as well. These 5 circles are what the 5 sessions, the main sessions, are about. And then over here, as we define truth as the gospel, over here there's a wall that just talks about, okay, what are the things that are keeping you from following Jesus? So the students will have a chance to write those down. So, have some options here, not options, but examples: technology, appearance, music, different things. What are the things that keep you from a relationship with God? And then coming over here, there's another wall. As we define those distractions, we want to have kind of an action point. So, okay, if your distraction is your appearance, what are things that you can do to combat that? So how can you start to live and tell the story? And again, that's something the students will be really learning a lot about in the gatherings this week. Coming over here, why do you believe what you believe? This section here is supposed to kind of look like an outdoor residential area. So coming into a neighborhood idea. So if you want to come over here. Again, all outdoor over here. And then you'll come in here. This is someone from the Berlin team will be greeting the students into and coming through an indoor area, indoor living room area. And in this space, the students are going to be encountering, again, having a conversation with someone from Berlin who's really going to be talking about what the church in Berlin looks like today. Smaller, kind of house church feel. And then she will lead the students in prayer just for Berlin and for the people there. So the students will have an opportunity to just talk and hear a little bit more about what goes on in Berlin church-wise. And then so we wanted to really talk about, as we've spent time really identifying what's going on in Berlin and what the church looks like in Berlin, we wanted to bring it back home for the students in their everyday lives. So these lockers here are an opportunity and a place for students to identify someone in their life that's not a believer, write their name on a Post-it note, stamp it, and stick it to a locker. And it's just a commitment to pray for that person who's not a believer in their lives. So that's what this space is about. And then lastly, there's a space for students to process out on these walls. So they're, again, kind of fashioned after the Berlin Wall, a place for the students to express emotions, thoughts, different things that they're processing. These walls will hopefully be covered by the end of the week. They will be, and it'll look very cool. And just a place for them to use some of their artistic forms as outlets. And then that'll flow into the coffee shop as well. And that is the end of the invisible wall.